All right, welcome to Talking Investing. I am Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to do our daily Bitcoin and Bitcoin miner update. We had a little bit of activity, and we had a very strange day with the Bitcoin miners today. So I want to go through all of that and give you guys a summary, and we'll take a look at the charts and see where I think we might be going next. So we cover Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners all the time on this channel. If that is content you're interested in, please remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Also, if everybody could please smash the like button, I really appreciate it. It gets this video out to more people and it helps the channel out a lot. So I'm going to start on the Bitcoin miner big board. So today was a very mixed bag. We haven't had a day like this in a while. We've either been up or down lately. Today, it was just hit or miss. More of this board is red than green, but there were some things that were up nicely. Hive was up almost 10% today. Marathon was up 4%. Riot was up over 2.5%, but yet Core Scientific was down 6.75%. So you can see there was a mixed bag of action today. And that kind of described Bitcoin today. Bitcoin was all over the place, but I want to go to the 30-minute chart and show you where we started and where we ended. Okay, so as always, there's an orange line on here. That is where Bitcoin was when the equity markets closed on Friday. So you can see Bitcoin was at about 20,738. It was just a little bit above that blue line, which was one of our lines of support on the way down here, because as we've talked about on the channel, we had about a 7 or 8 week relief rally, and it's my opinion that we're headed lower. We have been headed lower over the last week and a half. We finished Friday right at a line of support, and we were underneath that line the rest of the entire weekend. The NASDAQ was down over 1%. S&P 500 was down over 0.75 of a point. So it was a red day across the board. And really, if you look at it, it was a red day for Bitcoin as well. So I'm not sure why several of the Bitcoin miners had a nice bump today, but the rest of them were in the red. So to further look into this, our next line of support that we talked about going into the weekend and over the weekend was this pink line here, which is just under $20,000. Now that line represents massive support for two different reasons. The first one is that is the 2017 Bitcoin high. So that's a 4.5-year high. And so that's an extremely long line of support. In addition to that, 20,000 is a very psychological line of support. So over under that 20,000, I think is going to be one of the things that we should be looking for. So you can see for most of the weekend, we actually bounced above this line and it held as support. Yesterday, we broke below and then we tested this twice. These are on the 30-minute time frames, so this was over the course of several hours. It looked like we were going to get rejected at this line, and this was going to turn into resistance and head down. But all of a sudden, we reversed course, and from the bottom to the top, over less than a 24-hour period, we went up 4.5%. We're now well above this pink line, and we're well above 20,000 at just about 20,200 as I'm speaking right now. We did get as high as 20,427 today. So I want to go to the 4-hour time frame and take a closer look. Okay, so just to review, this was that 7 or 8 week period right here. These two light blue lines. This was an descending channel. That was a relief rally. We talked about that the entire time on this channel. When we crossed this light blue line and then this purple line right below it, this was a line of support. We had created a lower low, and that was the day that we said the relief rally was over. It was a nice rally. It was almost 2 months long. It was 43%, but it looked like we were headed to the downside, and I set 4 price targets to the downside. So the first one you can see we reached on about August 19th. And we actually went sideways and up for about a week. Very small movement, so traded in a very, very tight range. But we did hold this line for a week. This line held until essentially Friday, and then we broke through this line. And when we did break through this line, we went right down and tested the next line. I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see this activity a little bit better. And then we did hold that for a full day. Basically, we went sideways for a day holding that line. We had a 4-hour candle close significantly below that. The low on that was 19,524. But the very next 4-hour candle got all the way back up to that line, and subsequent to that, we are now above that line. This, what I've circled right here, is some very ambiguous action over the last few days. Once we broke this line of support at just under 20,000, we did not touch this line down here at 19,200-ish. We stopped in the middle, and then we ran back up to the middle here. So at the moment, we seem to be just bouncing sideways, trying to find a place. I'm going to look at a few of the technicals. I think it's possible that we are going to retest this line right here at 20,700. The blue line, that was the very first line of support that we had. That support held up for a full week, and we may be on the way to retesting this and turning it into resistance. That's what it looks like to me. However, you never know. If we can get there, it's possible we could flip that back into support. So we don't know when this is going to turn around. Things definitely seem to be skewing to the downside, so the pressure in general is downward. So I have to the upside, I have a short-term price target of 20,700. I feel like we could potentially over the next 24 hours test that line and still stay within this downward trend and head back down to some lower lows. If I zoom out a little and look at the 4-hour RSI for Bitcoin, you're going to see I zoomed all the way back out to the beginning of this relief rally, which was the middle of June. That was about a 2-month relief rally. We followed a very clear pattern here, bottoming out on the RSI just about 1 week before we bottomed out on Bitcoin. And then we headed up from oversold down near 20. We headed up and tested overbought territory once, twice, 3 times, and then 4 times. And that really spelled the end of the relief rally. Within a week, we had reached our peak and we started heading down. So we did basically last week get all the way back to this line. Actually, not quite touching this line, but almost a complete reset. This was down to about 14 or 15, and this got down to about 15 or 16. So virtually the same thing. But you'll see as we ran up over that week, we basically got back to just around 50 on the RSI, which is neutral. We could not break above that, and we broke back down to oversold territory again. So it's possible we are going to bounce around between oversold and neutral for a little while. So you can see we have a little room left on the upside. So that's why I'm saying I think we may be able to get to 20,700, which would be to retest that previous strong line of support that lasted for a full week before we head back down again. So obviously, conversely, if we can hold above 50 and make a push up, we could potentially have a bigger run up than that and possibly a reversal of the trend. So that is not what I'm expecting right now. It doesn't feel like this downward pressure is over. We really didn't hit a very natural price target to the downside, in my opinion. So I think there's more room to go. However, we could retest that line at 20,700 in the meantime. So if I just go to the 1-day time frame, this tells the same exact story. It's a little clearer. You can see I've got an arrow here. This was a 2-month relief rally. And then you can see we've just got red candle after red candle until we fell down and got caught at this line of support, which was around $20,700. We stayed above that for a week until we broke that, and then we got to this line of support. So what did not happen is once we broke through that, we did not break to the downside and get to this green line of support at around 19,200. Instead, the very next 1-day candle got back above this line of support at just under 20,000. So we find ourselves above that now. We find ourselves at 20,200. But it looks to me like we're headed sideways, potentially for a period of time here. And I still think there's a downward bias in the short term. So over the next 1, 2, 3 weeks, I still think we're going to test. The lines that I still have in play are this green line at around 19,200. And then, of course, we could go all the way back and retest our low. We did flash crash down to about 17,500 in the middle of June. And you can see we never closed the daily candle anywhere near that. From a daily candle standpoint, we were closer to 19,000 was the low, but we did get to 17,500. So I could see candle wicking back down there again at some point. I'm not predicting that. I thought that from the beginning, when we were up here, I did feel like this green line was our most likely case scenario. We have not quite reached it yet. If we're lucky, maybe that's it, and maybe we've turned around. But I do still feel like, in my opinion, and again, this is not financial advice. I don't know what direction Bitcoin is going in any better than you guys do. I'm just looking at these charts and trying to interpret them the best way I can. So to me, it looks like we're trading in a range for the moment. The top of that range being this blue line at around 20,700. And then I still think the bottom of the range being at around 19,200. Which we did not yet go test. I think we need to have a successful test of that and bounce off of that in order to reverse our trajectory. So I'm going to leave it at that for today. We're a little bit sideways, but I wanted to check in. I did not do a daily update yesterday because not much happened, but I didn't want to go 2 days in a row without giving you guys a little bit of where I think we're at. So if you made it so far, thanks so much for watching, and remember to subscribe to the channel and smash the like button. And again, thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.